Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
At Survivor Series 2020, The Undertaker had his final farewell, which was unlike all the other times he apparently retired because WWE told me so. All the legends came out to the ring, including Kane in his full ring gear, and clapped and cheered, and then they all vanished as Undertaker came out and retired by himself. What a segment. However, it's always been said that no matter what, there is one man who will always be able to convince Taker to return, and that of course is WWE Chairman Vincent McMahon. Taking to Twitter yesterday, the ever-reliable WrestleVotes reported that major names were being considered for WrestleMania 37 as it wanted 2 huge matches per night. But who would these major names be? Once a decision was made to run the 2-night card for Mania, the creative team started working on bigger ideas. Thought is WWE now needs 4 major matches, 2 per show. That probably requires outside assistance from big names. Cena and Goldberg nearly locks, Rock unlikely. Well, that all seems fine and expected. Sure, I don't want Goldberg again after we get him at the Rumble, but we've had worse. Oh wait, what's that? Taker TBD. Oh no. WrestleVotes added a second tweet explaining those 3 terrifying letters. Following up on the Taker part, majority of those backstage think he's done, and rightfully so. However, it only takes one call from one usually convincing man to change all that. This report comes just days after Taker appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, where he, amongst many other things, shot on the current roster and explained how the days when wrestlers in the locker room had guns and knives in their bags were better than the current day locker room, where they play video games and stuff. Definitely sounds like a nicer place to be. Just waiting for WWE to announce a gun and knife match for The Undertaker at WrestleMania 37 against the whole locker room. Please, Vince, just let the man retire. But first today, we have a very special Saturday appearance from Mr. Davis, my best friend. Take it away.
Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Battle Legion. It's free to download using our link below today. Thanks to Traplight Games for sponsoring this video with their awesome mobile game, Battle Legion. Available on both iOS and Android, a mass battle strategy game where you build your army, put them in cool fancy skins, and then sit back, relax, and watch them go to war. It's like the wrestling e-feds of old, or if you're younger, Football Manager, just for mythical Norse heroes. Battle Legion has a very active Discord community and weekly YouTube streams to keep you up to date on the latest game modes, like the most recent Clan Raid Battles feature, where your entire clan works together to defeat epic bosses. It's like if all of NXT took on Goldberg. Book it, Adam! Honestly, when I first downloaded the game to try it out, I blinked and realized I'd been on it for about 45 minutes. My cup of tea was cold, because there's something very satisfying and utterly absorbing about tweaking the perfect combination of infantry units and crushing your enemies. Claim, 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 claim. Battle Legion is free to download, so use my links below to download Battle Legion today. Please do at least check the game out, as it really helps support the channel when you click that link. Support WrestleTalk. Support Battle Legion.
In years gone by, WWE traditionally knows the card for WrestleMania in January or February, but as time has gone on and Vince has become more obsessed with bringing back retired old men, the card has rarely been finalized before the end of March, just a couple of weeks before what is supposed to be wrestling's biggest show of the year. According to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, all of the show's main matches still haven't been set in stone, and with the Royal Rumble next week, that would suggest they still haven't decided who's winning that, which seems crazy, but then again, this is WWE. According to Vince Russo, so do take this with a giant bag of salt, Vince McMahon was once forced to drop the Goldust character from TV after complaints were sent to the USA Network by fans. Speaking to SK Wrestling, Russo said, "Bro, one day Vince McMahon calls me in and is like, throat-slitting gesture. It's over, it's done. I mean, there was no argument because it was affecting business. Bro, what do? We go from that guy to Dustin Rhodes? What could you possibly do? I felt so freaking bad for Dustin, man. That was business, bro. It was USA, it was sponsors. We started getting a lot of calls, and they just cut it loose, man. That was it. Bro. And now it's time for a review of last night's episode of SmackDown in about 5 minutes. SmackDown opened up with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman coming down to the ring for a promo segment without Jey Uso, weirdly, who wasn't on the show at all. Reigns and Heyman opening a SmackDown with an in-ring promo in this economy? Surely not. Now I can complain about it feeling samey all I want, but the promos are really good, and this was no exception, with Reigns getting fired up about Adam Pearce, who came out to stop them talking. What was slightly worrying though was that they had dubbed over Pearce's microphone cutting out in a video recap of last week's segment, with him saying the reason Owens was included in the Royal Rumble match against Reigns was because cards subject to change. Not because if a competitor has reasonable doubt to compete, then an official needs to find a suitable replacement, which makes way more sense. But Reigns got right in Pearce's face, saying Pearce doesn't get to complain about his body hurting when he hasn't wrestled for years, while Reigns has been carrying the company on his back for years. Heyman laughed it up, which Pearce took offense to, saying he expected the intimidation from Reigns, but he'll be damned if he's gonna take it from Heyman. Reigns told Heyman to stand up for himself and handed him the microphone, and Heyman got a little excited, verbally tearing into Pearce before offering Pearce a match against him in the main event. Later on backstage, Heyman was triumphant, understanding exactly what it was that Reigns wanted and feeding into it, before Reigns turned it right round and said, I only handed you the microphone to run him down verbally, but now he's made the match, he should stick to his word. Be a man, Paul. Something about Mulan. Be a man. On the ramp to the ring, Sami Zayn handcuffed himself to the barricade in protest and had a variety of picket signs with him, where he stayed for the majority of the show. This was fun. After that, WWE suddenly remembered that the women's tag team champions can float across shows, so we had Charlotte Flair and Asuka versus the Riot Squad. The Omni Flare, where Ruby and Liv actually looked really good, but Billie Kay interrupted and accidentally distracted the ref, while the Riot Squad got a visual pin over Asuka, the Raw Women's Champion Asuka. The champs then came back and Charlotte hit a natural selection for the win. Backstage, Liv and Ruby abandoned Billie Kay. How do I feel bad for Billie here? Daniel Bryan came out next and put over the Rumble match, before Cesaro interrupted and reminded him he beat him last week, before rejecting Bryan's offer for a rematch and instead offering an open challenge, which was answered by Dolph Ziggler? And then we got Cesaro versus Ziggler with Bryan on commentary, which was a fun little match and had a great setup into the neutralizer for another win for Cesaro. Guys, Cesaro has momentum going into the Rumble. Could Cesaro win the Rumble? No, don't be ridiculous. But could he? No, of course not, unless... After this was Sasha Banks versus Carmella's sommelier Reginald in a match where it was made to look like they were having a normal match, but Banks didn't actually take a single bump. Instead, Reginald would flip and dodge everything, while Banks would counter all his offense into an arm drag. She eventually tapped him out in the bag statement. After this was Big E versus Apollo Crews, and guys, after we saw Apollo hanging out with Reigns backstage last week, what kind of involvement could we see in this match? Thank you for being awesome pledge hammers on Patreon, Dustin the Professor Layton, and Rip and Liam Tear. Turns out there was no mention or interference from Reigns at all, as after a few minutes, Sami Zayn uncuffs himself and hits a haluva kick on both Crews and Big E for the DQ. I assume this will be leading to a triple threat at the Rumble where Crews can win without pinning Big E. Maybe? Kevin Owens cut an emotional and heartfelt promo from his car next, saying his grandfathers are the reason he fights and won't stop. They both passed away before he made it to WWE, and he wishes they could have seen him here. This was incredibly effective and gave Owens another layer to his character of the person who never knows when to stop. The Street Profits attempted to bribe Sonya Deville backstage into giving them a rematch for the Tag Team Championships next. What great baby faces? Bianca Belair and Bayley took part in the Ultimate Athlete Obstacle Course next, which was really dumb, but I quite enjoyed it. After flipping a tire, going through hurdles, climbing walls, and firemen carrying Chad Gable and putting a basketball through a hoop, Bayley set her time, but then EST'd the course, putting in bigger hurdles and making Bianca Fireman carry Otis instead, which was legitimately quite impressive. Bianca won, of course, so Bayley beat her up afterwards. King Corbin versus Dominic Mysterio was next, where Dominic said he wanted to do things his way to his father Ray backstage. His way presumably being fighting fairly and then losing? Not sure where the story with him and Ray is going. And then finally it was time for Pearce versus Heyman, and this compounded my worries about the story, because for the first time since Roman returned at SummerSlam last year, I think the story took a bit of a misstep. It wasn't terrible by any means, it just had a bit more of the usual WWE air about it. Pearce was already in the ring and Heyman came down, still in his suit but taping his fists. He then tripped over the stairs and feigned a knee injury before yelling at Pierce, "Card subject to change." And then out came Reigns to beat up Pierce. After Reigns dogpiled on him for a little bit, Owens came out from the back and started beating up Reigns, hitting 2 stunners and nailing a pop-up powerbomb through the commentary table to stand tall to end the show. Now look, the story's not bad, it's just not as good as the Reigns story has been. I feel like they're using cards subject to change as some sort of crutch, trying to sweep everything under the rug. Because even though the match never officially started, it was insinuated that Reigns absolutely could have just taken the place of Heyman because he tweaked his knee on the stairs. It made sense for Pierce to do that during the contract signing because he was the official who had to find the replacement. This made it seem like anyone could just swap out with someone else when they felt like it because cards subject to change. It just felt a little off to me. But the beatdown was pretty cool. So that was the show. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments and follow us on Twitter to vote in our poll on a poll match, where 46.5% of you voted good, while 35.8% went one higher with excellent. I thought this was a solid show. Not as good as SmackDown has been recently, but still a good show, and definitely better than Raw still. So I'll give this a good 3 out of 4. A WWE star has hit back at The Undertaker. Press the video to the right to find out more, and press the video below that one to watch the latest episode of Board Game Club, where the gang plays A Fake Artist Goes to New York. Make sure to press the links in the description for Battle Legion, as it really does help us out. Subscribe here for daily wrestling news videos. I've been Corporate Chopper. Jam that jam.